Hello, it's Nichols, Retirement Empire. Me and May and I.
I think me and May is actually correct.
Me, Yama, May.
You're not Yama, May.
We have some projects today, things to do. Thought we'd take you along with us. I decided to wear my hazmat sweatshirt since it's cold and flu season. Actually, I've already had the flu.
You didn't have the flu, did you?
I had the flu.
Oh, gross. Did you get your flu shot, Dad?
I did not.
See? Get your flu
But
shot.
it only took me like 2 or 3 days to get over
Then you did not have the flu.
the flu. Yes, I did have the flu.
Did the doctor tell
Mom
you
was
had the flu?
no, I did not get diagnosed by a physician exactly.
Because the flu takes like 2 weeks to get over.
Well, I mean, I wasn't at full speed. I felt it in my chest, right here, my heart. When you breathe, it was very, very distressing.
Yeah, Mom called me in there and asked me to listen to her chest with my stethoscope because I have a stethoscope. However, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a person who has a stethoscope. My name is May. I'm 19 years old, and I don't know how cars work. And that's not good.
I don't know.
I should have taken automotives in high school. I had like...
No, you did not need to take automotives in high school.
I mean, I had all my classes done by like my junior year of high school, so I could take them whenever I wanted.
Not at your high school. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for vocational education, but it's really kind of a crapshoot on what kind of vocational education you get. At some schools, it is fantastic, and it all comes down. It's always the same thing. It always comes down to one thing: who your teacher is. And there are some people in other classes too, but more likely in vocational, because a lot of vocational classes, they're not actually teachers. They were, trained to do something else. Not that they're not teachers, but they weren't trained to be a teacher. And a lot of them didn't necessarily plan on becoming a teacher. It's just kind of what they do now. And it's a good job. Like if you're an auto mechanic and you're, a real good one, that is a good job if you want to have, the retirement, the early retirement, if you want to have the insurance and the off days, that teachers get in the summer and all that kind of stuff. You won't make as much money as you would be in a real mechanic, but it's still a pretty decent job. But anyway, what I'm getting to is a lot of vocational classes, the people don't necessarily want to do that for a career. They're just kind of doing it now.
Yeah.
And so you either have a really, really good one who you go in there and you learn everything there is to know about auto mechanics, and you come out of there and or you go in there and they're knocking holes in the wall with the wrenches and stealing all the tools and smoking out back and all the it's usually awesome or a nightmare.
See,
because they got all this expensive equipment and no control of the kids.
The teacher I had in my CNA class,
that's a nursing class.
Yeah, it's certified nursing assistant, but her name is Miss Sweeney, and I love her. And
she was a real nurse.
She had been in the field forever, and she knew everything.
Knew everything.
She was so smart.
So it's a good class.
Oh yeah, I loved her.
But it's hard to find people that have some kind of vocational training that want to teach.
Yeah.
Because they can take their vocational training and
just do their vocation.
Yeah, make a lot of money. So it's kind of weird. I mean, think about it. Your normal class, the kids aren't walking around with
drills,
flamethrowers, and drills, and
My freshman year,
hose, and
they wanted all
riding tractors, and
well, even in the science classes, because some of the science classes have like a lot of fancy stuff in them.
Yeah, but that's not vocational.
Yeah.
But anyway, your typical class does not have things that are dangerous like the vocational. They were having a competition for the vocational students. Georgia has a vocational competition every year. They needed a bus driver, and they asked me if I'd drive the bus, and so I drove for them. So anyway, I went to it. I'd never been to anything like that, and most of those kids I had in my classes, because I would always teach I was not teaching the students that were going to college, Coach Nichols' class. It was usually everybody else, you know. So people in the vocational classes generally were in my class because I would teach like U.S. history or something. So anyway, I knew a lot of those kids, and they weren't all successful academically. Didn't care a whole lot about U.S. history or economics or whatever my course was. And so anyway, I went down there with them, and they weren't bad. You know, they weren't kids that stayed in trouble. Well, some of them were, but you know, not all of them. They were just regular kids, and just trying to get by, trying to get out of high school. So I go down there, and I start watching these kids in some of these competitions, and it was unbelievable what they could do. I mean, they could lay brick like a professional. They could, I mean, they were wiring stuff up, and I had no earthly idea how to do any of the stuff they were doing. And I was so impressed with those kids and what they could do, the skills that they had. And ever since then, when I saw that, I was like, man, this is awesome. You know, they could really they're gonna make a good living. But you know what? A lot of those kids were the very kids that would quit school. And you know why they would quit school?
They could get a job.
Not necessarily, but not the kind of job they could have got if they'd finished high school. But really, the reason they would quit school is because they felt like they needed to take math for 4 years and language arts for 4 years, and all these classes that they honestly did not need. They didn't need them, and they couldn't pass them because they didn't care about those classes. So they're making them take all these classes because they want to treat everybody in Georgia like they're all going to college, and they don't all need to go to college. We need plumbers and electricians, and you know, big time.
Those are all important jobs, and they're like, the demand for that's never going to go away. Everyone's acting like we all need programmers. I mean, like we do.
And they can make a killing.
Like,
I mean, like Mace, you don't even know what a sedan is.
Yeah.
And so we need people that
know what a sedan is.
And so it's just crazy that we are making these kids take courses that they do not need when they could be being successful and doing these vocational programs and coming out of high school ready to work, instead of them dropping out when they're 16 because they, you know, don't want to take calculus. I mean, it's just, we do some of the dumbest stuff and then wonder why, you know, and then the kid goes to get a job. It's like, well, you didn't even graduate from high school. Yeah. And the kid can lay brick. The kid can he's got all these skills, and you know, but it's cruel. We do stuff to ourselves. Those kids don't need to take language arts for 4 years.
I feel like after like 10th grade, every language arts class I've had since then has been the same class.
And don't, you know, there's some of you like, well, everybody needs to know how to, you know, read and write it. You know, by 10th grade, you know how to read and write.
Yeah, like
enough to get to plumb. And to, you know,
to effectively communicate.
Yeah, to communicate the way you need to do and read technical manuals, and because they can sit here and they can look at stuff, and to me it's like total Greek. And they look at it and they go, oh, no, you know, they understand how things work, they understand how to put stuff together. That's the way they think. That's the way they do things. So why should we make them unsuccessful by forcing them to take courses that? But anyway, I get off that soapbox. But that was a good one. Seeing how those kids in their element, being able to do something that they were good at, you know, and they were having fun, they were, you know, and then you could think of them in those other classes and they're just totally miserable and wanting to quit school. Vocational classes. How did we get on that subject?
Oh, I said I didn't know what a sedan is until like last year.
Okay. That's the way videos work. You start talking about something till you figure out something else.
One time in my science class, we were working with like methyl bully, which is like a really strong dye. And as a joke, there's a kid like holding it. I was like, "You should eat that," and then he did. And I was like, "Oh my god!"
Thanks for watching Nichols Empire. Where we make people eat blue dye.
He was okay.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Bye.